The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited. That's right, brothers and sisters, the Hebrew and Bible Academy, you are invited. I'm Elder Rakashar, the Gathered of Christ Church here, brothers and sisters, shalom. I'm here with our weekly Patreon update, okay? And before I go into Patreon, we're going to have a little fun over there with Patreon today. Let me first say all praises be to the Most High God of Israel, AHAYAH, Warawak, right? Through the Holy Spirit, thank the Most High. And again, I would like to thank you, brothers and sisters, for your continued support for the Gathering of Christ Church. All right, shalom, shalom. And of course, as you can see, we're here early. We're going to try to make these updates early so to get people into their Sabbath, okay, time to prepare for their Sabbath. So I'm going to start doing these Patreon updates early on Friday like it was from the beginning. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Okay, we look good there. Everything is good. The volume's good. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about it. This coming Sunday, we'll be going into the split between Israel and Judah. We're going to go into how our people were scattered throughout the earth. And what does that mean for Christ's gospel? Okay, because we were told that Christ came for the whole world. There's no special people, yada, 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 the garbage they teach in modern day Christianity, ignoring the fact that the gospel is the good news for the same people who were scattered and are now under duress. So it's important that we point out the children of Israel, not leaving out others who believe in Christ, but we're getting the narrative straight according to the Bible. And I hope you all there as we break down the split between Israel and Judah and how to some degree that split continues. Even if we were to look at the migrant crisis, right? How they're trying to play the 10 tribes who were conquered by Esau against us, causing them to go poor to a degree that the 10 tribes, the South Americans, which are the lost tribes, and using them as political pawns to squeeze Judah in the black community. So they're using that divide, that chasm that has been there since the kingdom was split. And we're going to talk about that. Divide and conquer strategy, how when we split as a people, the world powers have been using that against us ever since. So we're going to talk about that and more in the academy, and I hope you are invited. Some people out there believe that all of the children of Israel are of Negroid descent, okay? Or they're supposed to look Negroid. Simple as the day is old, okay? Simple as the day is old. All right? Let me make it clear. The Bible tells you in the book of Hosea that Ephraim have mixed himself amongst the people. So if Ephraim is mixing with other people, almost 1,000 years, almost a millennium before our people, Judah, is actually cast out of Jerusalem. Of course, they're not going to look exactly like us, but there's still some phenotypes that you can identify, right? That links directly back to the phenotype and bloodline of Israel. And one thing you can't deny is the prophecies that fell upon the 10 tribes. So it's not just about Negroid, okay? Joseph's sons who were adopted by Israel, Jacob, our father, they were part Egyptian. The Egyptians are dark skinned. They have dark skin like us, but they're more so, their hair is more so like East Indians, straight hair. So of course, Ephraim and Manasseh isn't going to look exactly like Judah, Benjamin, and Levi because the Egyptians had straight hair. So these children would have a different outward appearance. Okay. So so I'm going to go into that and more, the divide and conquer and how they use division geopolitically to destroy either side, propping the 10 tribes up against us politically, and then turning us against them. And I'm going to be talking about that because a lot of people don't understand why they are doing this particular immigration thing. The first thing Biden did when he got into office was what? Change all the laws that were securing the borders. So he had a plan from day one, not him, but his controllers, because I don't know how much he's thinking about any of this based on his current condition. But his administration opened up the borders first day by repealing all of the laws Trump had in place to hold back the migrants, right? So you have to understand how they're playing this migrant thing politically against us, knowing that we are no longer going for the deceit that comes with the satanic liberal agenda. And since they cannot use us as a constituency anymore, they're seeking to get rid of us by what? You got it. By posturing other poor people who they've made poor in quote unquote third world against us and divide and conquer. Another thing they're trying to do, right? Because you have the 10 tribes who are lighter skin. Well, folks, this is the $5 Indian on steroids. Because now, what did Biden say? Biden said that white people are going to be the minority by 2050. So they need to bump up their numbers. So to what? What they're not telling you is to magnify their numbers against our people who are growing even against all odds, whether it be deleting children, dividing family, whatever the case might be, we still continue to have children and they're going to become the minority. So they're going to use this. This is $5 Indian on steroids. Where now other white people in the United States are going to intermarry with those who are coming over and identify as Latino. If they identify as Latino, even if they are Edomites, they now have access to all the civil rights money under black and brown, and they can look as white as Carly McLaughlin. This is going to be $5 Indian on steroids. A lot of you don't know the $5 Indian, where there was years ago, right after the settlements, they were seeking to parse out land specifically for the indigenous after the settlement and the reformation and things was going on at that time. They were looking to parse out what? Before the industrial age, pieces of land that would solely go to the Indians or the indigenous people of the United States, right? Where white people who were bringing over other immigrants could not stake claim to that area because it belonged to the indigenous people. So what they did was they put makeup on their face, right, built a teepee somewhere and claimed to be an Indian so that they can get free land for $5 under that treaty, the $5 Indian, where the white people can claim to be Gadites in order to get land under minority. So you get the political tricks they've been doing to us since the beginning of all of this. Well, think about doing that on steroids once they let all the people in, and white people are claiming that they're lower, their reproduction scenarios isn't happening compared to us. So now they can latch on to another people and identify as them to stake claim to what? A new constituency to get access to the civil rights money. Right? So that's their plan. It's multi-layered. I'm going to be going into a lot today, but this is what I want to talk about. They know, folks. They know that they can no longer deceive our people. We don't trust the healthcare system anymore now that we looked up eugenics and started to realize that we've been duped to a lot of degrees, right? We don't trust their educational system that lead our people, predominantly our sisters, into debt, only to come out with useless degrees that do not transfer on the outside of colleges, right? Think about how they've deceived us, and now they know we know. So now they can't draw us in to their political agendas like they used to, right? Even that war over between Israel and Palestine, we're saying, well, listen, we're Bennett. We ain't in it. Okay. We've been there, done that. We're not in it. Okay. So now what they're trying to do is to find a way to draw us into a war that has nothing to do with our people. Now, what I think is Biden is getting blasted in the polls. No one anywhere in their right mind is going to vote for him, right? But every time we come up near an election, there's some finessing going on, some political scenario that disrupts the political process. Like the last election, the ambiguity that came with what? Mail-in ballots. See? This cloud of ambiguity. This cloud of ambiguity through mail-in ballots out of nowhere. Now, since no one is really seeking to support him, understanding that they have always destroyed us politically as Democrats and liberals, what if a war against Iran was declared? Well, in the midst of a war, you cannot do what? You cannot switch presidents midstream in the midst of a war. So if the liberals want to keep hold of the levers, they must do some trickery before the election. So I'm looking at what's going on because they're not going to vote for that guy. And our people are fed up. Okay. But if we don't vote for them, then all their handlers loses what? They lose their budgets. They lose their finances because don't forget, the LGBTQ, the white liberals, they're the real taskmasters over our community that get broken off for all of the social programs. They're the people that administer the money in our communities. And if the liberals aren't in place, they lose jobs. Okay. Even though they don't live where we live, they are responsible for the mechanism, or what you would call the dynamics of politics in our community. We're being ran by white gays, and that cannot be denied in our community when it comes to social programs. Okay. That's not hate. That's just what I see every place. Whether you go down to the welfare office, the social programs, whether you go to family court, wherever you go, and our people have predominantly represent those social scenarios needed in our society, those people are in charge. Okay? We've been it. We ain't in it. Okay? So how will they seek to draw us into this? Fair use. How will they seek to draw us into a war that have nothing to do with us? Let's see. Fair use. For educational purposes only, this is a religious channel. We believe in God, we believe in Christ, and we are against the devil. Okay? We are against the devil, so we must identify when the devil is seeking to trick us again. Right? So how are they going to draw our people into a war that we have nothing to do with? Well, check this out. Fair use.
And says he's decided how America will respond to a...
How will America will respond? Put up some black folk in military apparel. Is this how they're going to look to draw us into this war? Just say it. All of a sudden, they care about some service members killed in Jordan. And we do give our heartfelt condolences to those who lost their life defending the country. You have our condolences, but we're not in it. Because unfortunately, Three Flags going to come back home and we will bury our brothers and sisters who sought to defend the country. But all in all, it's three. We love them, but our community cannot be sacrificed because millions cannot die. Thousands cannot die of our people for the sake of three. It's a numbers thing. We can't do it. We can't do it. So this is what they're going to utilize in an attempt to draw us in, folks? Fair use.
Iran and its proxy forces after 3 U.S. soldiers were killed in
a better question. Will our people fall for this is a better question.
Drone attack.
Yes. Mr. President, Iran responsible for the death of those 3 Americans? I do hold them responsible in the sense that they're supplying the weapons to the people who did it.
Okay, North Carolina Senator Ted Buck.
Now, I don't know if y'all noticed this, folks, but don't you think they could have asked Biden this question under a more quiet background? Why do you think they ask him questions in the midst? Usually he's only answering questions if there's some other activity, noise and all that going. So to have people not realize that his cognitive ability isn't there, right? To have us ignore or not hear the slurring in his speech. This is intentional, folks. Tell me, does anyone understand what he's saying right here? And what they'll say is, oh, they asked him a question while the helicopter was going.
Yes. Mr. President, Iran responsible for the death of those 3 Americans? I do hold them responsible in the sense that they're supplying the weapons to the people who did it.
Okay.
Now, folks, what I did was I turned the closed caption off to show you how they're covering for him. And this is Fox News. They had to actually what? They had to actually teleprompt this live as a caption so that people viewing the news could read what Biden was saying. Let's do it again.
Mr. President, Iran responsible for the death of those 3 Americans? I do hold them responsible in the sense that they're supplying the weapons to the people who did it.
Okay, North Carolina Senator.
Y'all see that? I have no idea what he's talking about. But in a nutshell, they're saying that, do you hold Iran responsible? for the 3 black kids that have died over there in the Middle East, when I believe their parents should question whether or not they should have been over there, right? Protecting a sovereign country that has a military of its own. Israel has a military of its own. What are our people doing over there? So I believe the parents of these particular these particular troops here, I believe that family should sue the United States government for allowing our children to what? Allowing our children to die in defense of a sovereign country that has nothing to do with us. That should be the news. Where's Black Lives Matter right now? Where is Black Lives Matter? Huh? So we need to spend this where it needs to be spent and not have them draw on our heartstrings to move our people into a war that has nothing to do with us. Black Lives Matter, where are you? Stand up in the community and say the government is wrong because, hey, this is George Floyd time 3, isn't it? If they were in the United States, this would not have happened.
In a drone attack.
Yes. Mr. President, have you been responsible for the death of those 3 Americans? I do hold them responsible in the sense that they're supplying the weapons to the people who did it.
Okay, North Carolina Senator.
And you notice they cut off him very quick. So this is not just the Democrats, folks. Fox News is covering for Biden's impediments and deficiencies also. Right? They're covering for him too. They should have kept the camera rolling to see whether or not he would know what direction to walk in. Right?
Ted Budd joins me now. Senator, good morning to you.
One moment.
The Biden administration was out there a lot yesterday.
One moment, folks. Sorry about that, folks. Biden, Iran is responsible for supplying weapons to proxy attacks on U.S. troops. Now I have to ask the question, folks. Is this their ploy to pull our people into supporting a war that have nothing to do with us? Right? That's number one. Number two, are they priming the pump, folks, for a war near the election so to not, what? Have Biden lose the election? And will that lead to civil war? Civil war with the red states against these ploys now that they couldn't get Trump out of office through these bogus alleged allegations. Oh, 91 allegations. There's no way he can make it to the primaries, they were saying years ago. So since these bogus allegations allegedly didn't stick, and they know that no one in their right mind is going to vote for Biden, is the war the only play to keep these sycophants in power? And if so, buckle up. We're not buying it. We're not buying it. You can plaster as many black people on your screens, whether it be CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all you want. Because if you cared about the black people that are suffering, you wouldn't have opened up the borders to destroy and move our people. This is synonymous. This is, folks, synonymous. What they're doing with the borders to murder. And it's deeper than some 3 people. East Indians coming over, Asians coming over, getting all of our civil rights money under black and brown people, moving us out of the way. I'm hearing in the community, some of our people are coming to the church and telling us some of these people are giving them false diagnosis and all these things going on with these people coming over the border, trying to get them on something. And when you take away someone's right to earn, folks, that's equivalent to killing a person. And if you bring these people over and they take all the jobs and housing, what do you think is going to happen to our children, our families? So you mean to tell me plastering 3 people on the screen going to change and have us not see what you're doing real time in America? And you think our people are going to join forces to fight for another country like Israel? We're not on either side. Palestinians can't pull us into their side either. So it's time for us to stand 10 toes down and tell them you can put as many black people on the screen as you want to politically drive us where you would like, but we're not riding. We're off the bus. Okay? It's not going to work. With Bennett, we ain't in it, right? And since we're talking about the military real quick, I wondered, did any of y'all know, brothers and sisters, boy, do we have a good Patreon today. All right. But I wanted to share some of this with you. And we're going to touch on some of this. We're going to touch on some of this in the academy during the news segment. Have any of you ever heard of Edgewood Arsenal human experiments? Since we're touching on the military, have any of you ever heard of Edgewood Arsenal human experiments? If you've ever heard of Edgewood Arsenal human experiments, put 1 in the chat. If you never heard of Edgewood Arsenal human experiments, put 2 in the chat. If you've heard of this, place a 1 in the chat. If you never heard of Edgewood Arsenal human experiments, put 2 in the chat. 1 or 2. 1 if you heard of it, 2 if you never heard of it. Look at this. Look at all these 2s. Look at all these 2s. And folks, this is why these broadcasts are so important. Look at this. Look at this. Folks, let me tell you something. Look at this. Look at this. Let me tell y'all something, folks. Before there was any such thing as YouTube, I was on the streets. I was on the streets debating 15th and Market Streets, right outside the gallery, 9th and 8th and Market Streets. All of our people haven't heard of this. That's a travesty. Anytime someone would come up to us to speak politically to what have happened to their people, I would come with the Trump card. No pun intended. Don't try to pull on my heartstrings concerning what have happened to your people. And no one have ever addressed what continually happens to my people. Not that I can't sympathize, but my sympathy has priority, such as yours should. My sympathy has priority. So you can't say, they used to come to me and I was sitting there and we would debate people. Well, what about the Holocaust? You're not the only people who suffered. And I would say, listen, I'm sorry what happened to your people. But what Holocaust was going on against our people at the same time that's getting ignored or even overshadowed when you're talking about something that just happened a few decades ago, when we've been dealing with this Holocaust against our people for centuries. So I can sympathize with you, but I have to sympathize in priority, and I hope you do the same to understand that I'm talking about something that happened well before 1948. And there were certain experiments going on here in the United States. The Tuskegee experiment and all these others in the United States. What you're talking about happened on the outside of the United States. Not that it changes, right, the dynamics of the pain that was caused there. I can relate to your pain. But you got to go over there to talk to them about what they done to you. We did nothing to you. You can't use that politically against me, who my people is suffering by the hands of all of you right here in the United States. So when I was on the streets, I would tell them, let me tell you, you're not going to throw me off with speaking of your particular plight as if it's equal. And this is how they try to diffuse us politically from talking, folks, by going over emotional, talking about what they have survived. You're still here. You're doing fine. And the only time some of them pull this out is to do what? It's to diffuse us from actually explaining, telling everyone what our people continually suffers. Because in 1948, when all these things was going on in World War I, World War II, Project Paperclip happened after the war. And I spoke about this on the street. Project Paperclip. What is this? The Germans are the bad guys and did all this stuff, all this evil stuff, right? But why would you allow their scientists into the United States to do studies here that would affect Americans under Project Paperclip? I talked about this on the street. So we're getting dual narratives here. If they're the enemy, as you claim under your Time magazine and everything else the media is saying, the bad Germans, why would you allow Hitler's science to permeate within the United States, aimed towards American citizens? And anytime that happens, at the end of the day, it ends up harming our people under eugenics. Huh? That's a shame y'all haven't heard of Edgewood Arsenal human experiments, because the day you figure it out, you find out. What is it? What is it? And look this up yourself. Not to be confused with Project MK Ultra, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. A similar CIA program, or Project 112, you can look it up. A similar military program undertaken at the same time. From what? 1948. World War I, World War II, anyone? From 1948 to 1975. Listen to this. The U.S. Army Chemical Corps conducted classified human subject research at the Edgewood Arsenal facility in Maryland. The purpose was to evaluate the impact of a low-dose chemical warfare agents on military personnel and test, listen, protective clothing, and to test what? Pharmaceuticals. They were testing pharmaceuticals on our armed forces, our children who are enrolled, and what? And what? And a small portion of these studies were directed at psychochemical warfare. Psychochemical warfare. That's what? That's testing on American citizens, troops. And on top of that, on top of this, folks, is speaking of an attack on the psyche, the neural senses, the brain. Now, could any of this seep within our society somehow past that time after the experiments? Have any of this been legalized? Who knows? Allegedly. And if so, could that be the reason for the uptick in mental illness? Huh? Psychological warfare, psychochemical warfare, and grouped under the PROSIAC title of the Medical Research Volunteer Program, 1956 to 1975. The RVP was also driven by intelligence requirements and the need for the new and more effective interrogation techniques. Right? Right? So there's a few things I'm going to talk about. MK Ultra. What is MK Ultra? MK Ultra. Right? MK Ultra was an illegal human experimentation program designed and undertaken by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, and intended to develop procedures and identify drugs that could do what? And folks, I have some of these papers, some white papers here, but I'm not going to go into those today. I've shared some of this in the academy. The U.S. Central Intelligence Agency intended to develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used during interrogations to weaken people and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. Now, another thing that, folks, believe it or not, listen to this. You can easily control people under MK Ultra with another form of torture, which is what? Solitary confinement. Closing someone, locking someone down in their home. I need y'all to think about this, folks. It began in 1953 and was halted in 1973. Maybe they halted it because it was able to what? Make its way in society as a norm without us realizing, allegedly. Maybe we're past the experimental stage, and could it have been implemented within society altogether? Let's see. MK Ultra used numerous methods to manipulate its subjects' mental states and brain functions, such as covert administration of high doses of psychoactive drugs. Are we living in a time now where it's normal to receive any level of psychotropics? That's just a question. Especially LSD, right? LSD is a psychedelic, and guess what? They made it passé in our communities with Molly, Percocet, and all these other types of pop culture songs, right? That have actually drew our people in to high hallucinogen drug use. Is that the end of these experiments? I'm just asking. And other chemicals without subject's consent. Electroshocks. This is what Kanye West said they ordered for him, that they prescribed for him, when it was once under Project MK Ultra. Interesting. Hypnosis. See, and this is where your television comes into play. Right? Sensory deprivation, which is what? Perceptual isolation. Stimuli from one or more of the senses. Simple devices such as blindfolds, hoods, earmuffs, and folks, even what? You got it. That's right. Mass. The sensory deprivation by shaming people to have masks on. Folks, it's a psychological play. that was tested under MK Ultra. Deliberate removal of stimuli from one or more of the senses. Blindfolds, hoods, earmuffs, or even masks, face masks. Ah, right? Isolation. Lockdowns, anyone? Verbal and sexual abuse. They could get the subjects to follow under a hypnosis program if they were able to get to the subjects early who exhibited sexual abuse. They're the easily controlled, and you can trigger them to be utilized as cells against other people. You can actually program these people to be utilized in society to come against those who disagree with who? With the controller. Oh, yeah. That's all I got to say right now. That's all I got to say. What will we be going into on the other side now that we're ready for Patreon? Brothers and sisters, get ready for a very, very informative, brothers and sisters, Patreon. Listen to what we'll be going into today. And hopefully you'll be joining us. We have 2 clips, 7 minutes each. Dr. Peter GOCC talks about the truth about the pre-screenings for breast cancer. The truth about them. It's going to blow you all away. 7-minute clip. 7-minute clip. I'm not a doctor, so I need y'all to hear from a doctor. I need you to hear from a doctor. He's going to drop the truth concerning mammograms. He also has some insightful information through his medical opinion, let me put it that way, on certain pharmaceuticals that you'll only hear on Patreon and me running into the news this coming Sunday. We're going to be handling, folks. We're going to be handling the war news. They're not telling anyone. They've already started a quasi purge in our community that will come fully blown by this summer. Warfare and criminality like you've never experienced since this earth began will be the inner cities of America. And this was all Biden's plan, knowing that our people weren't going to support these sycophants staying in place, and they're doing everything to replace us politically or to get rid of us. We're going to talk about that. And now even their own people is coming out and blasting them and saying, well, listen, could it be that the medical apparatus in our country betrayed us? So we have could it be? Dr. Peter GOCC talks about his views. And notice in our neighborhoods, folks, where are the black men that used to be doctors, that was once doctors in our communities? Where are they? They're gone. Look in our communities, folks. They've replaced us with East Indians and Asians. Where are black male doctors? And it's easy to get the sisters on board because you can move them emotionally to do whatever the power structure tells them to do. And unfortunate for them, and you know that's the truth. Okay? And the men in place that are left aren't that resistant anymore anyway. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to move from him. We're going to go into the pharmaceuticals. And let me tell you, folks, last but not least, 1 hour of fun. A 5-hour video. A 5-hour video, folks. But we're only going to take an hour of this at a time, and those who are on Patreon will have access to the full video. Jewish confessions reviewed. We're going to do for the first time a review on one of the most iconic interactions since this church began. Myself, next to a rabbi, next to a converted Muslim, next to a Muslim who's asking this guy, how the Hades did you get us trapped in the room with him? Uh-huh. Boy, are we going to have a good time today on Patreon. And folks, I'm going to have the Zoom up. I'm going to have the phone call up. We're going to have a good time with this. I want to hear your interactions as Amalek starts explaining and how he get upset when I say, well, there's some tenets within Judaism that we believe has satanic undertones. And of course, I'm being a little politically correct here. I think I was a little bit more forward in my estimation of Judaism. But all in all, let me tell you, boy, just imagine if these cast of characters was just trapped in a room with the books open with no place to go. Huh? You can't say you're late for dinner because it was after dinner time. So I know you full. We can do this all night. Okay? You should have seen them between commercials, folks. Between commercials, they were looking at each other. They was like, who is this black guy? How did he figure this stuff out? Why did they let him in this country? Oh, hey, folks, because the Arabs are bold over there. You want to know what's going to happen to America soon? Go over into England and see how emboldened the immigrants have become, not just over the blacks there, but the whites. Boy, are we going to have a good time today. And you know what? You know why I'm doing this? Because we must what? We must laugh to keep from crying. And this is what I do. I show my brothers and sisters, yeah, the enemy is planning war and all these other things, but we're going to be fine. We're the saints. We're God's people. He got us. And a matter of fact, I'm going to show you how much he has us. I'm going to break it down to show you. Because on our way up, we're giving it to the enemy on his way down. Jewish confessions under review. Today, for the first time on Patreon, because folks, it's different being in the midst of the war. There's a different angle, aspect, and altogether being in the war, not knowing where the debate goes. There's a different vantage point from being in the war, in the ring, and then reviewing it from the outside of it. Right? I looked at it back and I'm like, man, I don't remember saying that. That's deep. I had to go back to it. I'm like, whoa. It must have been the Most High who compelled them to stay here and get I mean, utterly dismantled. You must have a better defense for your people than this, huh? Woo! I'm ready. Like, hey, I got my tea over here. I got my water. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm getting ready right now. Uh-huh. Let's get ready to rumble. All right. I hope to see you over on Patreon. Get ready. Jewish Confessions reviewed for the first time. And we're going to take an hour of this. And I just want to hear your takes on this, right? Last but not least, for those who missed our Wednesday broadcast, we had my friend, my longtime friend. He's a independent filmmaker who did a great job on a documentary that's currently running on Paramount Plus, 72 Seconds in Rittenhouse Square. 72 Seconds in Rittenhouse Square. Y'all have to see this. But okay, yeah, we have the full video on Patreon. It's on Patreon. Thank you. Thank you. We have the full video on Patreon already, but I'm going to review an hour of it tonight. And let me tell you something. Today, actually. Going back to my brother, Lamont Fountain, Manigun. The GoFundMe has now been launched to receive donations for the Echoes of the Ramapo, a mini-series that must be had highlighting the destructive poisoning coming directly from Ford Motors onto the Ramapo North American Indians against our people, and we must bring this to the big screen. We must bring this to the big screen, and there will be many productions thereafter. Many productions thereafter. We guarantee it. So if you can find it in your heart, right, brothers and sisters, to support this, I'm going to put, again, let me put it here. I'm going to place, that's here, the GoFundMe link in the chat here. Okay, you don't have to do Cash App anymore. The GoFundMe is launched. It's a crowd fund to get enough to go into full production for the pilot, and then subsequent to that, that's right, the series, Echoes of the Ramapo. All right. All right. Hey, folks, Israel is doing it big. The children of Israel. I'm going to tell you, the enemy have used what? The big screen, mass media, and all of that to push their agendas for years. But I'm going to tell you, when our people get up on that machine and start producing, folks, it's nothing like it. So I told them, I'm like, this is so important that we can help save our people with this particular documentary, this miniseries, okay? But I told them, this is going to be one of many. Because after we do this, we're going to parlay this into serious biblical stories and all of that the world have never understood or heard of, with the right characters in play. If we do a production on Abraham and Nimrod would be an East Indian, right? A Hamite. And then we would have Jake as Abraham. Huh? So, hey, we're going to do it. Hey, watch it. Watch it, folks. Watch it. So, hey, listen. Who knows? Who knows? Let me tell you, folks, I'm wearing about 1,000 hats right now. But who knows? I may jump up in one of those roles someplace in one of those productions. Watch out. We do need to finish the Purim production, right? Yes? Yes? Okay, and before, let's see here. One other thing I wanted to, before I go, my brother Quadam Rakar from Houston just dropped a new video that you all need to. Thank you, Sister L, for making a donation for the movie Echoes of a Ramapo. Thank you, of the Ramapo. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. And the GoFundMe is also, you can find it in the description of our last Wednesday broadcast. All right. Of Wednesday's broadcast. Brother Quadam Rakar from Houston just dropped a new video. Awesome. When you get an opportunity, go over and support that. Let me put that link in the chat so you can go over and support that brother who does great music. Highly talented brother, Quadam is. So there go the video. Make sure you go and support that. We love you. May the Most High stay with you. Stay prayed up, sin not. We got a doctor who's going to break down the first 14 minutes on pharmaceuticals, as well as what's really going on with mammogram, sisters. You want to know about this. Have they lured us into our own demise through fear? Huh? We're going to talk about that. And we're going to review 1 hour of Jewish confessions. Hold tight. Let's go over the Patreon. May the Most High stay with you. Stay prayed up, sin not. Do not fall for the political ploys of the Democrat Party to have us believe that the fight in Israel is our fight. And it doesn't matter how many black people they put on the screen and claim something happened to them. We can mourn our people, but we're not going to be pulled into any of your political wars. Bring our people home. So to not use them as proxy for war, they shouldn't be over there anyway. Bring them home. Then we don't have to worry about you using them to coax our people into a war that has nothing to do with us. At the same time, you're waging war against us with open borders. It's a new day. We're no longer going for it. We're the children of Israel, and we're back. See you over in Patreon, Shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. I am ready to go. Be right back. Patreon.com/AGathering144. Jewish Confessions. We're going in. Woo! Oh, yeah. We're going to get them. Come on.
The East is where we're from. The 12 tribes of Israel. In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With a great escape, we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. That's who we be, Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, and Valley from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulon from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans. AHAYAH's gathering Israel. The Arabs and Africans told us
At gunpoint.
to gather our wives and children, then sold us. In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. AHAYAH gatherers in Colombia, Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans, AHAYAH's gathering in Israel, the Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, the Haitians, AHAYAH's gathering in Israel.
Come on, come on.
Asher in Colombia, Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans. That's who we be, we be.
Come on. Come on, Judah.
Benjamin, the West Indians,
Come on.
Levi,
The Haitians. Wake up, Israel. We're back. Come on.
Manasseh, the Cubans,
Yeah.
from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii.
The Lord is calling back Israel.
From Panama, yeah, the North American Indians,
Simeon.
the Dominicans,
AHAYAH's gathering Israel. Stand up, Israel. Stand up.